So I'm going to finish this up, and now I'm going to get to your questions, and we'll see what we got in here.
Add accountability to Afghanistan in that you will not fund until the accountability for Afghanistan.
For Afghanistan, I will. I'll take that back and talk with everyone about that. That should have never happened. I was wanting to, whoop, this is where the glasses come in. I was wanting to know what is going to be done or helped with the housing crisis in Floyd County. There's no way to get anything at all, no matter how hard you try. Well, guys, I'm no longer running my construction company, so I don't know how to help you with that, and that's a county issue or maybe even a state issue, depending. What if Trump is truly guilty? Would you still support him? Trump is innocent, and I do support him. Please pass along all GOP, stop using the word gender and only use biological sex, biological men and women. Using the word gender is playing along with their word manipulation, sex not gender, biology not feelings. I've heard this argument. It's a great argument. I actually agree with it. But some of the best ways to talk to the left is use their language and tell them it's wrong. There's only two biological sexes, male and female. And I tell them, they think there's like 500 or more genders. I always tell them there's only two genders too. And I still have my sign outside my office. It's become a tourist attraction now, that there's only two genders, male and female, and trust the science. So we enjoy people stopping by and taking pictures whether they agree or not. What can you do about the worker shortage with something inflation? Well, I'll tell you what I think about this. It's not right for the government, state or federal, to fund companies to move into an area to compete with existing companies, right? And steal workers away. And that's something Joe Biden bragged about. Oh, he's bragging big about the battery plant that's being built, and solar panel plant. And I'm not against any company, but I'll tell you what I am against. I'm against the federal government and the state government giving tax credits and giving all this taxpayer money help to plant a company somewhere when there's already not enough workers. And then that company, with all the federal and state tax help, gets to steal workers away from these existing homegrown small businesses or big businesses, but Georgia-based companies, where they are stealing these workers away. That's wrong. But Joe Biden thinks that he's done something great, and I just let him brag about it and go, bless his heart. He's just so pitiful. Pass a law to limit PAC contributions, like private contributions to candidates. Well, all contributions they're not private. They're actually reported by the FEC, so that's already been done. If you're talking about, now that's not PACs, there are 501c3s and 501c4s that I believe you can't see donors.
George Soros.
Well, we should just ban George Soros altogether. Let's get real clear. What are you doing to help veterans moving in the 14th district? Again, you guys, I see Tracy and Valerie back there. We help veterans every single day. So if there's a veteran that has an issue, we are always on board to help because we absolutely love our veterans. Why did you vote to strike funding from the VA office, Resolution Management, H Amendment 296? If this was under this was probably under Pelosi. I didn't vote for a lot of the things that Nancy Pelosi wanted to do because they wanted to provide abortions at the VA, and they wanted to do a lot of other things at the VA. So I voted down a lot of her bills, and I'm proud of it. Let's include student loans and bankruptcy. That would resolve the student loan payoff issue fairly. It was permitted before 1987. You know, I have to say, I'm really for people paying back their loans. And taxpayers should not be paying for other people's student loans. And I tell you, there's a lot of great jobs out there. There's trade jobs. And you don't have to borrow a lot of money to be those. We need linemen, we need welders, we need all kinds of trade jobs, truck drivers, and I think some of those are the greatest people, and thank God for them, right? How are you feeling about your decision to vote for debt ceiling and Biden still throwing billions of our money to Ukraine? Concerned citizen, I'm concerned too. Again, I think I've made my answer clear on Ukraine. I'm not voting to send any of your money to Ukraine. I never have and I never will. As far as the debt ceiling's concerned, if you guys appreciate natural gas like I do, that bill did one thing that most people don't know about, is it allowed the Appalachian pipeline to be built that will carry natural gas over to North Carolina. And that frees up the system to provide natural gas right here for all of us and lowers the cost. That's something that was very much needed. As far as the debt ceiling bill, the good thing is it didn't spend your money. But this month is when we start spending your money. That's the appropriations. And that's what I just told you guys. When it comes to appropriations, I'll never vote in an omnibus, and that's our promise from our speaker. We will be voting on 12 separate appropriation bills, but I've already told you what I will not fund, whether it's appropriation bills or a continuing resolution for just a few months. I'm not funding a weaponized government. I am not funding COVID mandates with vaccines or masks. I'm not sending any money to Ukraine, and I'm demanding an impeachment inquiry when I get back to Washington. GOP is failing on messaging to young women and minorities. What are they using? The same strategists who are not having positive winning results. There are plenty of voices who wants helps. Well, I will tell you one thing that messaged to, I know, a lot of black voters was President Trump being arrested down in the Fulton County Jail. And I don't know how many of you probably saw a lot of the same videos I did where black Americans all over came out and said they have had enough. Because whether you're a black person, a woman, whatever your identity is, no matter what it is, we are all suffering under high inflation, high interest rates, an open border, out of control crime, fentanyl deaths every single day, 300 Americans. We are all suffering together under these things, no matter what your identity is. And that's the messaging that everyone needs to know. While the same party in charge that is causing all these problems is locking up their top political opponent. I think that's a message that's well sent to everyone. You sided with McCarthy. Will you vote to vacate? Will you ask for immediate impeachment of Biden? Well, I think Mayorkas and Garland. Well, in the packet, you all have my bills. I've already introduced articles of impeachment on Mayorkas. I've introduced articles of impeachment on Garland, Graves, Christopher Wray, and Joe Biden multiple times. I think you know where I stand on impeachment. But again, thank you. It takes 218 of us to vote for impeachment. Now, as far as the question on vacating the chair, if Kevin McCarthy goes back on his promises to us, maybe that's something I would consider, but I'll tell you something right now. If we were to vacate the chair, we would hand our power over to the Democrats. We would be a fractured Republican conference, and I don't think any Republican voter across the country wants to see the Republican majority in the House fall apart, and I'm not going to be a part of that. It might sound good for sound bites on social media and news clips, but in reality, that's not a smart move. Why doesn't Congress codify remain in place when foreigners are requesting asylum? New law saying babies born in the U.S. by an illegal alien are not citizens. We have passed a great border security bill that handles all of these issues. This is the strongest border package that we've had in history. Brings back all President Trump's policies. We just don't have enough Republicans in the Senate to pass it, and we already know where our president will not sign it into law, unfortunately. What's that? I was told by Tally Insurance Company in Rome that a bill was passed recently in Georgia to allow insurance companies to raise rates 30 to 40%. When economy is so bad, gas is high, groceries high, why? My insurance went from $1,250 to $1,965 on a 2016 Cadillac with a good driving record. Well, Patsy, I'll tell you this, this was a bill that was passed in Georgia, and I work in Washington, so I would definitely encourage you to talk to, one of your state legislators and ask questions about that. But I agree with you on insurance. It's a lot of money, especially what Obamacare did to all of us, right? Can we enforce laws on books? Well, if we had a justice system, we might could. Stop illegals coming in. If we had a good administration that cared about our border, why not shut the border? Y'all, I would love to shut the border. I'd do it yesterday if I could. What is it going to take to get Biden out of office? Yeah. I'm trying. Even Ray Charles. This is great. Even Ray Charles can see how crooked the Bidens are. I think I'm going to take this one back to D.C. with me. There's more evidence on them than any other person. Amen. Amen.
You got to impeach Kamala first.
Oh, they hate Kamala. Listen, let me tell you something. That woman only had 1% in the Democrat presidential primary. I think it would be a gift to us if she became their president, if she became the president, if she became who we're running against. They hate her. They absolutely hate her. We'd win by an even bigger landslide, and we're already winning. It is so frustrating seeing other GOP members not doing anything to support Trump. I agree with that. Do they not understand if they succeed getting Trump, they will do it to all GOP candidates in the future? Well, whoever this person is really smart. That's the absolute truth. It's like Pandora's box. As soon as it's opened, right? As soon as it's opened, they're going to come after all of us. Some of them have already called themselves out. Ken Buck is, a member of the Freedom Caucus, is on TV. Supposedly he's come around. Don Bacon was one of them, Brian Fitzpatrick, Lawler in New York. There's been multiple members of Congress that in the past months have said they wouldn't vote for an impeachment inquiry. But what I found out in the past couple of days, I think everyone's there. So we're supposed to be getting it in September. We'll see. We'll see. GOP should campaign on abortion is genocide. If the adults are back in charge, why do they act like children, name-calling opponents? Democracy does not mean do what Dems wants or it goes against democracy. All 50 states will never become socialist, Marxist, communist states. Illegal immigration hurts low-income communities, replace their jobs, housing opportunities, and puts their children in schools with known language barriers. The wealthy people on TV are benefiting from Bidenomics, that's the truth, while it is hurting the middle class and low income. Yeah, well, abortion is genocide. It killed 63 million people and counting. And then we're always talking about, why don't we have enough workers? Why don't we have enough people to do these jobs or those jobs? Well, all of them are dead, aren't they? Which is really sad. Imagine we could have, probably someone would have cured cancer, or who knows, the brilliant people and amazing things they would have done. But they didn't have a chance to life. You're invited to come to Rockmart Farmers Market. Woo! Thursdays year-round, 2 to 6, or 2 to 5 in the winter. Come see me at L&L Candles and Soaps. Oh, you were good. I shut down in the hot summer. I don't blame you. All vendors are local, homegrown, and homemade. Keep up with the good work and dirt digging on Joe and Hunter. That was great. That was great. Little plug for L&L Candles and Soaps. I would love to come to the farmer's market. How long do we have to suffer with these folks? Oh, too long.
Until we take back the schoolhouse.
Why doesn't Mitch McConnell resign? I don't think he knows he's in office at this point. I don't know if he knows or not.
Who have they got to replace him in Kentucky? Who is a possibility to replace him?
I don't know. That's up to Kentucky. But we can't have a man that's having strokes. The problem is with Mitch McConnell and others like him, you guys, is his staff, their staff runs the seat of power. And these are unelected bureaucrats. Kentucky didn't elect Mitch McConnell's staff, and that's an issue. So it's a situation that needs to be handled. And Kentucky needs to handle it, and the Senate needs to handle it. Who would you like to see President Trump select as his running mate? Not Mike Pence. I would love President Trump needs whoever he wants to have. We want our party back. Amen. I want it to be America first. That's what I want the Republican Party to be. I don't even care about identity, ideology. It's just be for Americans. What about the 87,000 new IRS agents? Okay, that one, we voted to defund them, and then we have worked out a situation we are defunding them year by year. And honestly, let's think about this. They are funded incrementally over 10 years. So one Congress to the next Congress can't keep something in place because every new Congress passes new rules. Like Nancy Pelosi had her rules for last Congress. Kevin McCarthy has his rules for this Congress. And then every single Congress passes a budget and does appropriations. And our Congress, each Congress lasts 2 years. So Nancy Pelosi, 117th Congress, 2 years. Our Congress, the 118th Congress right now, is 2 years. So we really only control the funding every 2 years. So we have defunded it right now. It's defunded right now. I agree with you. I think those 87,000 IRS agents should be gone, but instead they really should be Border Patrol agents. Why aren't the swamp people in jail? Well,
That's an easy one.
yeah. Maybe win. We love you in Summerville, Georgia. What could Congress, thank you. What could Congress do to call a special session of the legislation to investigate DA Fonnie Willis? Oh, this is a good question. Is there anything they can do to force an investigation into Raffensperger, the Secretary of State? Violating election laws by not updating the security software of our election machines prior to the next election. That's a no-brainer, isn't it? If the company that owns the voting machines is advising every state to update the voting machines, one would think that they would be updated. I can't even answer you for that. I don't understand it at all. The question about Fonnie Willis, though, I think is a good one. So I have called everyone about this because I was so upset about it. And I was down at the jail when President Trump reported to be arrested. So the situation in the state of Georgia, this is what I've been told by everyone, is in order to call a special session, the governor has to call a special session. The governor has already said he's not calling a special session. Okay, well, let's talk about impeaching Fani Willis. Colton Moore has done a great thing. I'm really proud of him, and I'm thankful. And he has articles of impeachment ready for Fani Willis. Now, he can't introduce them until they're in session. That's how it works. So that's why he's calling for, let's have a special session. He wants to introduce articles of impeachment. But we have, and I've got the numbers right here. Hold on, let me pull them for you because I wanted to be able to tell you exactly. Okay, so in order to impeach in the state of Georgia, it takes 3/5, which is 60% of the House members and then 60% of the Senate members. So while I am very much supporting his efforts to impeach Fani Willis, here's how difficult it is to do. So you need 3/5 votes to impeach. In the House, that means you need 108 votes for impeachment. We only have 102 Republicans in the state House here in Georgia. In order to have 3/5 to impeach in the Senate, you need 34 senators, Georgia senators, that would be Republican senators, by the way, to vote yes. We only have 33 Republican state senators in the Senate. So that is the absolute reality of the numbers. So if that lets you know, it's unless Democrats were to cross over, which we all know that would never happen, the votes are not there to impeach Fani Willis. So then let's move on to what can be done, okay? Because this is the questions I've been calling everyone. What can be done? I'm on the federal level, so I can't control any of the state issues. The first question I asked was, can I cut off federal funding to Fani Willis's office? She doesn't receive federal funding to her office. She's state funded. She's a state DA. She's a Fulton County DA. So the answer for me was no, I can't do that from my position. The Judiciary Committee, though, I am really glad about this. They are launching an investigation into is there collusion between Jack Smith's special counsel or Merrick Garland, Joe Biden's controlled Department of Justice, and state DAs, Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg, and others. Is there collusion there? Because they've charged President Trump with racketeering, right? Which is the same as a conspiracy to commit a crime. Where in fact, we are pretty certain there is a conspiracy between the Department of Justice and these state DAs in an effort to lock up Joe Biden's top political opponent. That would be a conspiracy to commit a crime. It's called election interference. And so in the Judiciary Committee, that investigation is going to launch, and I'm understanding it starts in September. So that's one thing that is happening. Another thing that is happening is in the state of Georgia, they passed a law that goes into effect October 1st that creates what you would call an oversight committee. And this oversight committee is to investigate any state DA in the state of Georgia that is not like, usually it was meant, or the idea at first, and they had Fani Willis in mind when they passed this law, was to investigate her and see if she's actually doing her job in prosecuting crime, like the crimes I told you about. A child is sold for sex 7,200 times to a man every single month. That's the type of crime she should be prosecuting. Murders, rapes, gangs related to cartels, drug deals, carjackings, on and on and on. Those are the crimes she should be prosecuting. So October 1st, this law goes into effect in Georgia. This is what the lieutenant governor has told me. This is what everyone has told me. They will set up a committee that will launch an investigation into Fani Willis and how she's conducting her office and her indictments against not only President Trump, these other innocent people in Georgia who are being persecuted, wrapped up into this lie that she has created. So if that helps all of you understand the situation as it pertains to whether she can be impeached. Unless we have some Democrats vote with Republicans, the votes aren't there. Is there going to be a special session? Governor Kemp has said no. Is there any way to stop her? Yes. The Special Oversight Committee that starts in October, and on the federal level, we can't defund her, but we do have the Judiciary Committee investigating. So I hope that's helpful. That was a good question. I'm thankful for you. Fun. What are you going to do to make the federal government smaller? Well, that's probably happening September 30th. We need to shrink. We can definitely get rid of the Board of Education. That's a great place to start. There's a lot that can be done to shrink the federal government.
Education needs to be local.
I agree. Education needs to be local and in the hands of parents. That's the place where it belongs. Yeah. But outside of that, we definitely need a strong Republican majority in the House and the Senate and a White House that will help us shrink the size of the federal government.
The rhinos thrown out.
Yeah. Can GOP submit a bill for those with student loans to be able to sue the colleges? Put the onus on the colleges, not the taxpayers. I tell you what I would like to do is I would like to stop giving money to all these universities. I don't know why big schools that have these big endowments need federal money. Does that make any sense? To basically ruin your children? They don't need federal funding. Will you push for Trump's trials to be televised like yours? Well, let me explain, whoever's asking this. I'm a member of Congress. I don't control courtrooms. That's a separate branch of government. And when I had to sit on the witness stand, being charged by some leftist group that came from New York and knew nothing about Georgia, and came down here to take my name off the ballot and tell you all that you couldn't vote for me. Yeah, that happened. It was up to the judge in the courtroom whether it was televised or not. And actually, I'm really glad it did, because it showed what a bunch of weak fools and pathetic attorneys those guys were. And then up for President Trump, everything that happens in these witch hunts and persecutions and unconstitutional charges and indictments that they're bringing against him, whether it's televised or not, that's up to the judge in the courtroom there.
The judge mentioned today it will be televised.
Yep, they want to show it. The one in Georgia will. I'm not sure about the other ones. Will the current probably help them. The more they put this stuff on TV for people to watch, he's just going to get more support. Will the current situation keep honest candidates from contesting a race or asking for a recount for fear of retaliation? I don't think any candidate should ever be fearful of asking for a recount. I think anyone that is running for election and the people that vote for them are allowed to care about election integrity no matter what. And that's what I think. That's right. They've all done it. That's right. Stacey Abrams, Hillary Clinton, yeah, Bush, Al Gore, all of them. I have an idea for getting term limits in Congress passed. Ken, I got to tell you, we need 218 votes for it, and then we need the Senate to vote for it, and then we need it signed by a man who's in the White House, and he's been in office over 50 years. So I don't know how we're going to get that one done at this time. We can include in any type of funding. Gordon County is concerned about the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill Act. Comments on this? I'm not sure. Was there anyone that asked this question? Yes, sir? Or was it you? Oh, you, yes.
Is the Farm Bill and the Welfare Bill in one bill? If they are, why don't they separate them so the people can see what's been spent on each?
All the spending is spelled out. And the Farm Bill is every 5 years. And so we're still working on the Farm Bill, getting it exactly how we need it to be. So one of the things we did from my office is we invited as many farmers as we could to participate in our Farmers Roundtable. And we will do this again, but we invited farmers and we gave them the link where you could put input on what you wanted to see in the Farm Bill, what you were concerned about or questions you had. We did that, when was that, Travis? Back in the spring or late winter? Late winter, yeah, that was done in late winter. But the Farm Bill, the details are still being worked out, and hopefully we can have a good one in there. What are your thoughts on all the First Amendment rights happening in today's America? First Amendment rights, probably violations is what I think this person meant. I think they're egregious. Our First Amendment is our First Amendment for a reason. It was obviously because our founding fathers believed free speech was most important. But then they made the Second Amendment our right to bear arms because they believed that was second most important, and that it should be protected at all times. Defund the FBI. Yes. I've working on that very hard. The FBI wants a brand new building in Virginia. They're not getting one. And I would love to impeach Christopher Wray. Still trying to do that. No, not anymore. What can we Americans do to make changes, save our country? We, the people, have to get involved. What do you suggest? I tell you what, you can't. One thing that isn't talked about enough is how important the local level is. Rome City, Floyd County. These are places to get involved. And pay close attention to things happening right here in Rome. I'm a resident here in Rome, and there's things I don't like happening. So I think that if you really want something to get involved in, watch very close to what's happening in your city, what's being funded, what's not being funded, and there's some real issues right here in Rome. County, Floyd County, pay attention there too. You can also volunteer in many ways. Elections is a great place to volunteer. I encourage that one. Also, you can read bills yourself. This is what I did long before I ran for Congress. Read the bill instead of relying on someone to tell you what's in it. And you'll be really surprised what you learn when you read the actual wording of a bill. And you can search them on the internet. You can go to congress.gov and you can look up, you can put in the search bills about abortion or bills about whatever it is, veterans, bills about the border, bills about whatever is interesting to you that you want to know about, and you'll come up with all the bills introduced. It'll tell you the status of the bill, whether it's moved through committee yet. It'll tell you if it's passed. That's something I recommend to do. It maybe is a little bit nerdy, but I think you'll learn more and you'll be smarter and you'll know more than most people if you read the actual bills. But pay attention locally. I think that's really important. No internet sales tax on used items, eBay, Etsy, etc. I think that was a state level bill that they had worked on. No tax on Social Security, right? You've already paid your taxes. Totally agree. There should be no tax on Social Security. Double taxation. No question, just a compliment. I love the white balloon move. Awesome. Thank you. It was like everybody wants to pretend like Joe Biden didn't know, he allowed a Chinese spy balloon to traverse across the country, and then he comes in for the State of the Union. I was like, remember that, Joe? That was last week. Something else. Given Mitch McConnell's present condition, how do you see the budget negotiations going for the next fiscal year? Oh, Lord. Sometimes I have to remember I'm standing on stage with a microphone. On camera. We'll just pray for him to retire. Bless his heart, yes. Liberty and justice for all. When are we going to get it back? Amen. When are we going to get 2024, y'all? Let's hope. Why does Congress use continuing resolutions when their job is to create a budget? Awesome question. Have you considered mandatory retirement for civil service at 20 plus years and not replacing the workers and reduce spending and drain the swamp? Good questions. Why does Congress, okay, continuing resolution. So Congress's job is to pass appropriation bills. Now, remember how in the past you always see on the news, the government's going to shut down. Oh no, everybody's freaking out. Not. Who's freaking out? Washington. Okay, so every year our job is to fund the government. Funds all kinds of things, and it is our job. Constitutionally, we are supposed to do it. We have to. It's what we have to do by the Constitution. So therefore, it's important. However, in the past, we always see what? Omnibus bills, right? An omnibus bill is a package of those appropriation bills. Sometimes they'll put all 12 together and ask members of Congress to vote yes or no to them. Or they might do mini buses where there's 6 appropriation bills packed together and maybe another one with 6, or they break it up like that. Now here is what is so wrong about those. It gives members of Congress like me who are conservative fiscally and very picky about what we vote for, because appropriation bills not only spend your tax dollars to every single department in the government, but they also have something in them called policy riders. And the policy riders are very important. The policy rider says how the money can spend. It doesn't just say X amount of dollars for the agriculture department, for example. It says X amount of dollars for the agriculture department can be spent to hire LGBTQ identity employees. That's actually was in Nancy Pelosi's agriculture appropriations bill. So the policy riders are really important. So if you look for an omnibus or a minibus, they're horrible because you only have a yes or a no vote. You don't get to go in and rip things out because they already come to you, and you have, usually if it's Republicans, we have 2 to 5 minutes to vote, yes or no. Now if you're Democrats, and when we had it last Congress, Nancy Pelosi gave us 45 minutes or longer to vote because of COVID. But either way, an omnibus or a minibus is a real big problem. So Speaker Kevin McCarthy made a promise to all of us, which was important to me, that he would never force us to vote on an omnibus or a minibus. So he has made a promise to return regular order to the House. We have to vote on 12 separate appropriation bills. If we can't vote on these 12 bills by September 30th, which is a month from now, then we're going to be looking at a CR. A CR is continuing resolution, which is that has an amount of time. They'll say, vote on a CR for 2 months. So that continues the government funding exactly the way the policy riders are written. And you know which ones are in place right now? Nancy Pelosi's policy riders. And it continues the funding exactly the way Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats wrote it to be funded. So the continuing resolution is something I do not want to do, and that's why I have very particular issues I'm saying I will not fund. I won't vote for a CR unless you remove no funding for Ukraine, no funding for COVID vaccines mandates and mask and vaccine mandates. I will not vote for a CR that funds the weaponized government. I won't vote for these things. And so these are the things I'll be negotiating when I go back, because we can't fund these horrible Democrat policies. But I'm hoping that we can pass we've passed 1 appropriations bill. We have 11 more to pass. I'm hoping we can get there and get to work and get these 11 passed, and we're not faced with any of this. So what you'll see on the news when we go back to Washington is a bunch of chaos in Washington, and you're going to hear all about the government shutdown, while I know for a fact all of you at home could care less about a government shutdown, right? Because that's the reality. And in the meantime, my demand is we vote for an impeachment inquiry, because that should have already happened and we should be doing it. I hope that helped. Can you shed any light on our Governor Kemp going to Davos for the World Economic Forum meeting? I have no idea why anyone would go to Davos. I have no information on that. When will I certainly won't go to Davos, I'll tell you that. When will Republicans get aggressive with the two-tiered justice system going on? I think I've covered that one extensively. We aren't aggressive enough. Democrats will not stop with Trump. You must impeach Garland. I've introduced those articles of impeachment. Prayerfully reconsider your statements regarding the Catholic Church. I grew up Catholic, so I'm not sure what statements these are, but I don't attend Mass anymore. And we have freedom of religion, so it's my choice to choose where I go to church. Do you still trust McCarthy to lead the Republican House? Yes, I do. He has not given me any reason not to trust him. And remember, I'll tell you, if we could vote for impeachment inquiry today, Kevin McCarthy would be one of the first ones to vote for it. We aren't waiting on him. We're waiting on other Republicans. That's been the holdup. And I'll also let you know something you probably don't know. Kevin McCarthy voted to object on January 6th to Joe Biden's Electoral College votes. That's something else you probably don't know. He also voted against gay marriage. He did. So there's you need to check his voting record before you maybe believe things you've seen on the internet. Will Hunter ever be convicted? Not right now. There's Merrick Garland sure won't convict him, and David Weiss, the special counsel investigating him, is protecting him, and that's why David Weiss should be fired. How can we stop the Democrats from from this overthrow of our country? Flood the polls in 2024. Yeah. Do you support and will you vote for term limits? Yes, I have signed the pledge and co-sponsored the bill. Why is the federal government and Georgia pushing electric vehicles so hard? Wonderful question. The manufacture of these batteries produce more hazardous waste than all other manufacturing, except solar panels. That is a fact. With the water lawsuit fresh on our minds, will we be suing Cartersville 15 years from now for the Etowah River containing pollution from the new battery plant in Cartersville? Who wrote this wonderful question? Y'all are some smart people. I was just talking about this, well, I've been talking about it a lot, but I was just talking about this today, literally. This is a great concern of mine. I don't know, so I am completely against the Green New Deal. This is, so, yeah. And this is the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is to destroy the oil and gas industry. I advise all of you to read it. It's 14 pages. 14-page communist manifesto written by a bartender named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Look it up. Seriously, it's 14 pages. Read it. You're going to be shocked. But the climate cultists, you know, the ones that think that our Earth is heating up so much we're going to bust into a ball of flames. I mean, who knows? Maybe some of those people are lighting the wildfires. But the climate cultists believe that we have to switch everything to electric to reduce carbon down to net zero. So that, I mean, really to get to net zero, you'd have to kill every human being on Earth, right? Because we emit carbon. It's insanity. So they want to switch us, and this came, the Green New Deal, if many of you remember, it mostly got passed in a lot of the Biden administration bills that came through our last Congress. They got a lot of it done. And in the infrastructure bill and other bills, they funded states, and through the federal government, they gave all this funding to build over 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations all over America. How many people in here have it? And I'm not putting you on the spot. I believe you can drive any car you want. I just want to know the percentage we have in the room. Does anyone have an electric vehicle? Yeah. Oh. Put your hand down. I'm going to talk to you. I don't even know what to say. We have a plant, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm just kidding. I'll talk to you after, Jane. So, okay, so the high majority of people in this room don't need a government-funded electric vehicle charging station. But they're doing them anyways. And so when the bill came out, they said, the Biden administration said, each state, every state, the state of Georgia, every state has come up with a plan to give to the federal government to receive their funding. And they have to match it with money. So not only did Joe Biden take a lot of your money to fund 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations to be built across America, the state government is going to take some of your money, a good chunk, to match the federal money to build them here in Georgia. So that's what's happening. Why is our government doing it in the state of Georgia? I have no idea. I really don't. I haven't heard a lot of people in Georgia going out demanding that we get electric vehicles. And most people that are buying them, like probably this guy down here, took advantage of the federal tax credits that the Biden administration is like doling out like crazy because they're trying to convince Americans to drive these things. So I'm sure that was an economic choice. You're so funny. So, yes, I have. And these are horrible, toxic wastelands where they mine the minerals, the rare earth minerals, to make the batteries. And that's not the only problem. With the battery plants are also toxic. And you're very right to be concerned about what is being built in Cartersville and how does that affect the water and where the water goes and how does that affect Rome, which is next to Cartersville. And it's also laughable. Have y'all driven out there, by the way? I'm sure you have, like I have. Driven by there, and they're in a house in sight. So all these workers that they're bringing, you know, they're bringing jobs, right? That's what Joe Biden is excited about, bringing jobs to Georgia. There's not a worker that lives anywhere near that place. So it's another ridiculous, it's like a slap in everybody's face, and Joe Biden thinks it's a good idea. But to me, I will tell you, I'm very concerned over it. I'm completely against it. We, under President Trump, we were energy independent. We were exporting our oil. We were making money selling oil to the world, natural gas, and that's how it should be, as well as having gas at $1.75 a gallon. Who remembers that in November of 2020? Yeah, me too, because it was right here in Rome. But the battery issue is a problem, and anytime you are, shall we say, inviting China businesses to come here, I'm not on page with that, because I was born and raised in the state of Georgia, and I don't want China in the state of Georgia or anywhere in the United States. So thank you for your very smart question. It is a very important issue. I encourage everyone to keep asking questions and talking to people about this, because it should be our concern. We're the Bible Belt down here. We don't want to be the battery belt. And that's what they're saying we're turning into. For real. They really are. That's what they're saying. I don't like it. We got time for one more? Okay. All right. Oh. Two. We'll do two. Sorry, Travis. I promised my staff, I was like, y'all, I'm not going to talk a long time. And I said, I promise, I'll just make a few remarks and I'll get to that fishbowl. And they all said, we know what you're going to do. And I apologize, and thank you for sticking with me. Feeling helpless as a citizen. What can we as Americans individually do to get the criminals in Washington arrested? I so share your sentiment. I so share that sentiment. I feel helpless too, and I'm a member of Congress, because it's so frustrating that regular people suffer. You work hard, you're doing everything to make ends meet, your energy bills are going up, your groceries are going up, inflation is hurting you, you're watching your retirement money shrink to nothing because inflation's going up. Are we going to end up in another war that was like the Vietnam War? It's like, I totally agree with you, and I feel helpless too. But I want you to know, I always put my faith in God. I do, and I think that's what we all have to do. While none of us are perfect and there's no perfect leader, we're never going to elect a perfect leader. You can't find one. We had one, and his name was Jesus Christ. And we all know that story. But I'll just say this, put your faith in God and let each day have its own worries. But pray and continue. That's what I do. I put all my faith in God, and I say I'll do everything I can in my power, and the rest is up to him. And that's truly how I feel about it. So I just wanted to give that encouragement. And then the last one was, thank you so much for all that you do. While I have plenty of questions, I have a feeling that you will answer some of mine tonight from others. Thank you again. And so thank you, and I hope I did. So this is so great. I've got to hang out with you all, and I did too long. Sorry. And thank you for staying. And I'm just thrilled that when I leave here, I just go home and sleep in my own bed. So thank you so much, and thank you for being part of this wonderful community that I get to call home. I want to say thank you all to that. And thank you to my friends and neighbors. When I bump into you at the grocery store, I always enjoy meeting and talking with the nicest people, or local restaurants, or Home Depot, or Lowe's, or wherever I am. Here in Rome, it is always home to me. So thank you so much, everyone, and thanks for coming.
Love you.
Y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Where am I going? Go out here.